Welcome along to the Belgian Grand Prix. It's round 14 of season 15, Wheel2wheel Racing AL2 Championship, and we're about 20 miles west of the German border in the foresty hills of Belgium at the iconic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Spa was one of the only 7 circuits to host a race in the first Formula One World Championship back in 1950, and since then it's produced some incredible racing. Currently, it's the longest track on the Formula One calendar. It's a 4.35 mile circuit, 19 corners, 10 to the left and 9 to the right. There's 2 DRS zones and several overtaking opportunities, along with some challenging corners that will push our drivers to the limit over 44 laps of racing today. The tires are the hardest in the Pirelli range, the C3, C2, and the C1. The softs over half a second quicker than the mediums, and over 1.1 seconds quicker than the hards, but of course the soft tires with much quicker degradation. As we are getting underway in qualifying today, we look forward to another exciting race here at Wheel2wheel Racing.
Yes, hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Last season, AL2 produced a pole time of a 1:44.2, and that was set by Riker in the Renault. So we'll see how everybody can settle in this race today. A lot of people looking like they're originally going to be setting their times on the soft tyres, but we have a couple opting for the mediums for now, but we'll see how they go. The old dads for Racing Point, first one out of the garage. He typically seems to be one of the first ones, eager to be out on the track and to be setting a fast lap first.
And this the longest track on the Formula One calendar, as we said, and just a single 18-minute qualifying session, so not really much time to waste here in this session. It's such a long lap to get 3 runs in using the 3 soft tires that our drivers have allocated for qualifying. You can't really sit in the garage for too long, so see a few drivers out there right away, and Old Dad's looks to be our first coming up to start his first flying lap.
Yeah, we'll ride on board with him as we go round Spa, as he will have his DRS open, coming across the start-finish straight, coming down to a sharp right hairpin, which is La Source, which is turn 1. Critical all about the corner exit here, because you've got a long straight coming up towards the first DRS activation zone. And then we've got turn 2, Eau Rouge, going into 3-4, which is Radion, very difficult. As the drivers, you'll be looking up to the sky, coming down now. DRS open on Kemmel Straight. Turn 5 down here is Lacombe, coming round into 6 and 7. Very critical to get these right because they all flow onto each other. Coming now downhill braking, we'll be into turn 8, which is a sharp right hand. Very difficult to get it right because you don't want to ride too much on the curb. Round turn 9. Now heading downhill again to Pouhon, which is turn 10 and 11. You can get a minimum of 175 miles per hour down here, which is phenomenal speeds in these Formula One cars. Now a tight section here with turn 12, 13 and 14. This is where Russell and Giovinazzi had their DNFs in the last Spa Grand Prix, round turn 15. Very difficult on the exit there, don't want to get too close to the wall. Seen a couple of people end their race there. Now a long sweeping left-hander, which is turn 16 and 17, which is Blanchimont. Heavy braking now down into the chicane, which is very off-camber, so you have to watch your corner exit there. DRS activation zone, DRS open. Across the finish line as Old Dad sets a 1:44.3, but was immediately beaten by Apoplex with a 1:44.1, which has already beaten our pole time from last year. Oh, Apoplex possibly having assistance there from Old Dad's with the slipstream, because he was quite close to the back of him. as they set their laps.
There's a couple places on this track with such long portions of it taken flat out as Stevo sets a 143.5. So our pole sitter from the last few weeks is on provisional pole here early in this qualifying session.
Ted's invalidated his lap. He won't be setting a qualifying time on this occasion. Brev crossing the line, setting a 145.3. CHM just in front of him in fourth with a 145.2. Sega on the mediums sets a 145.7, which is quite a respectable time on their mediums. What was the time difference between the softs and the mediums again?
It was about 0.586 seconds. Oh, wow. Both fresh in their first lap. But of course, as they go on in the race, the mediums will become the preferred tire after the softs wear very quickly. So, but in qualifying, yeah, a little over half a second between the soft and the medium.
Ted invalidates his lap again. So who should we ride on board with? Just Mikey, the current championship leader, is serving a quali ban this race, so he will not be setting a qualifying lap, or if he does, it will be a intentionally slow one. And old Dad set another lap there. I couldn't see if he improved.
CHM about to come across the line, and he improves. Fourth for CHM.
Is Dastardly going to set another lap?
He was...
It looks like he's on target for another qualifying lap.
Yeah, he is
he's coming round
staying
to the
out.
Start-finish straight. Suffering with his time now. He's nearly 3 seconds behind Sega on faster tyre also, so we'll keep an eye, maybe having a bit of setup time. Bannister is just about to start his first flying lap. He's on the soft tyres. Bannister, obviously one of Stevo and Mikey's rivals, who's quite high up in the Drivers' Championship. So we'll see what kind of time Bannister can set.
Dastardly sets a purple Sector 1 on his second flying lap.
Bannister also set a purple Sector 1 with a 130.019 for Sector
Dastardly just runs wide at Puhan and invalidates his lap. So the Ferrari driver letting off now. Now Bannister coming through the same part of the track now that Dastardly invalidated on. We'll see if Bannister can get it right.
Yeah, very tidy Sector 2 so far, very deep. Oh, Bannister's left the session. Please tell me you got the same on your screen.
I did, and hopefully we'll see him rejoin in time to set a lap. Unfortunate for Bannister.
So, right, who have we got to set a lap? A letdown estate has invalidated. He's on a set of mediums, yet to set a time. Um, Appleplex looks like he's just begun a flying lap, so we could ride on board with him, see if he can get any closer to Steve-O's time.
Dastardly once again setting a purple sector 1. We'll see if he can continue that pace over the rest of the lap.
Appleplex just behind, he's also set a purple sector 1, so it's all to go here.
Dastardly being a little more cautious through Puhan there, not taking any risks of running wide and invalidating.
Appleplex is getting rather close to Dastardly now, so... Oh, but Appleplex went too wide there and he invalidated. He just got over the white line, left hand side. So he's now backed off. How was Dastardly's Sector 2 time, did you see?
He had improved slightly.
Cool.
But not enough for his liking as he's pulling into the pits, and it was interesting to see him stay out on those softs. He had done 3 laps on them. I thought he would have probably come in earlier and gotten a fresh set on, but still got plenty of time to go out for another run on some fresh tires.
Letdown Estate looks like he was going to be going again, but his fuel light is flashing and he's just pulled over for a Williams to go past. Williams of Sega to Goz, as Steve-O improves his time with a 1:43.1. Right, old Dad's left the session. We were having some connection issues tonight.
And Prev improves and is up to 3rd. Good lap from the Red Bull driver, a 1:44.2.
I'm on board with Ted, who is setting his first flying lap as he locks up into turn 8. Very fast poo. Oh, and it looked like he lost the back end, and he did. He caught the inside wall. How he didn't lose a wheel there, I don't know, but he's lost his left end plate. And he'll be making his way back round. 4 minutes 50 left of the session, so he does have time to recover. I think Steve-O is behind him, so hopefully Steve-O isn't setting another lap, although his fuel light is flashing, so it's unlikely. Appleplex on an out lap. Prev's likely to be on an in lap as his fuel light is flashing. Bannister has rejoined, so hopefully he now has time to get back in his car and set a representative lap, albeit he probably will only have one shot.
And Sega Takaz with a purple sector 2 on his 2nd flying lap. Williams driver showing great pace.
The Williams drivers have had some good innings the last few races, haven't they?
Yeah, they've shown great pace at times. I just think they would maybe look to be a little more consistent as the rest of the season goes on. Sega Taz improves and is up to 5th.
Yeah, 1:44.3. It's a very close time between 2nd and 5th there. Less than 2/10. So not much going on at the moment with only 11 cars in the race, 10 of which are allowed to set a lap as Mikey is on a qualifying ban for this session. Appleplex and CHM looking to set a new time, but now they're in the opposite order. Last time it was... actually, no, I'm telling a lie. It was Old Dad's, wasn't it, in Appleplex?
We'll see how Appleplex did in the first sector. He improves slightly. Not enough to worry Steve-O at the moment. A huge gap Steve-O has.
Ahead, Steve-O. No, Bannister, he's not... He might be back in his car, but he's not out of the garage yet. So we might have two different races here, because we'll have Steve-O at the front, just Mikey at the back, and unless Bannister can get out of the garage pretty sharpish, he won't have enough time to set a lap.
Oh, and Appleplex improving by 0.6 through the second sector. A great lap so far from Appleplex. Just the bus stop chicane to go. He takes it smoothly, DRS open. And he improves by 0.7, but still not enough to snatch pole away from Steve-O. But a great lap from Appleplex.
Steve-O on an out lap, so he might find even more time. This qualifying session is not yet over. Still a few people who can set improving laps. DHM, Dastardly, Ted, and Steve-O. And Appleplex, if he has enough fuel, he could go again. Although I think he's getting out of the way.
And Dastardly setting a lap on the medium tires. I think maybe that soft run was just getting a feel for the track. He was likely planning on going for the mediums for his timed lap, and he comes across the line and goes third on the mediums. A great lap from Dastardly.
That is incredible. Bear in mind, as you say, that it's at least 0.5 in that in them difference between the mediums and the softs. And Ted has retired. Hopefully his car won't cause any issues. Appleplex has just gone round him, but Appleplex was not setting the lap. Steve-O coming round P1 now.
Steve-O has invalidated, so he won't be setting another time.
Appleplex has backed off. Dastardly set his lap.
I believe that will be that for qualifying.
CHM, he's coming around the final sector, although no, his time is well down. So a letdown estate not able to set a qualifying time. Ted retired, having not set a time either. Bannister had a connection issue. Although, did we see Old Dad's roll reconnect as well? Because I'm sure I've seen him disconnect from the session. Steve-O's 143.1, that would have gotten him into 9th place in AL1 behind you, Matty.
Interesting. Seems as though his quali pace is definitely there. He spoke about his race pace. Maybe he's not as confident that he's at AL1 level there, but by the last couple of weeks looking at his race pace, it looks pretty solid. So
although this week we had connection issues with Bannister, he wasn't able to set a representable time. Mikey with the qualifying ban, he wasn't able to get in there. And I'm sure there's more than 11 drivers in this league, so I think we could have had more representing times set. And we have a dry race, by the way. Just had a weather report. As we run down on the qualifying session there, I've just seen Old Dad's rule reconnect, so hopefully he can get into his car. If not, we may have to restart the session. But we have Steve-O on pole with a 143.1. Appleplex in second place. Third is Dastardly. Fourth is Prev. Fifth is Old Dad Rules. Sixth is Sega to Cars. Seventh is CHM. Then of the non-setting times, we have A Letdown of State in 8th, Ted in 9th, Bannister in 10th, and Mikey in 11th on a qualifying ban. We only have 9 names up on the top right, so we'll just try and keep an eye out to see if we have any of the admin restart the session. Seems to always be some niggles when there's been an update. There was a big update last week for F1 2020, which allowed you to see the penalties of the drivers around you whilst you're racing, and also there's now a screen on the spectator mode which allows you to see the penalties as they stand live during the race. So to fill in our 5-minute gap, because in AL2 we have a 5-minute gap between qualifying and the race, because we're going on to 100% distance, which could take up to 2 hours of driving, so it just gives the drivers a break so they can have a comfort break if they need to. Yes, and AL2 standing for Assist League 2, so just to make all the viewers aware, the Assist League allows you to run virtually all the assists, so all these drivers can have ABS, medium traction, full traction control. There is just 1 or 2 which we turn off, which is the brake assist, which drivers are allowed ABS, but they're not allowed the brake assist on, which is where the car will automatically brake coming into the corner for you. We also turn the pit assist off, which is on entry and exit, so as you're driving down the pit lane, you need to make sure that you either hit your pit limiter or you'll slow your car down enough before you cross the pit limiter line. And then also on pit exit, you need to take control of the car as you're driving out of the pits as you cross the pit line. So looking at last year's result when we was here in the Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix, it was a gentleman called Brisley who won the race, who's sadly not with us anymore, so respects to him and his family. But then we had Pezza in second, Just Mikey was third, and Just Mikey is the highest scoring driver who is currently still in AL2. So, looking like it might be a good result from Mikey if he can make it from the back of the pack without getting any lap 1 incidents, if he can avoid all of that at La Source and Radion, and if he can get through lap 1 with his front wing, he looks like he might be on for a strong race, because he's finished highest last season of the remaining AL2 drivers. And as we're talking about Mikey, he is currently top of the Drivers' Championship table with 209 points. In second place we have Bannister, who is 45 points behind with a total of 164. Steve-O with his phenomenal race win record right now. He's won the last 4 races, podium on the last 5. He is currently in 3rd place. He is only 3 points behind 2nd place Bannister. And then in 4th place we have Dastardly, who recently has not had as good a run as he had at the start of the season, but he is on 149 points, so he's 60 away from Mikey, and he is 12 away from Stevo. So it's a very tight battle at the top. Just Mikey still with a slightly comfortable lead, but there is more than enough rounds left in this championship that can threaten his championship title. And moving on to the constructors, Renault, who is just Mikey's constructors team, is currently leading with 293 points, and then we have Ferrari in 2nd place with 246, which is 47 behind Renault. So that is Dastardly and a Letdown Estate hauling some good points, which, in fact, if I go back onto Renault, because Renault is the only team who both drivers have scored points every single round this season.
And our drivers are off the line and underway on the formation lap. And just to go over the tires and the strategy before lights out. The soft tires, which the majority of our drivers will be starting on, are the quickest, but with the quickest degradation also. So they can last a maximum of 19 laps, but in this first stint they'll be looking to go around 12 laps, maybe a maximum of 15 laps, but they'll really be falling away quick from our drivers at that point. The medium tires can go a maximum of 29 laps, but probably around 25 or so laps at decent race pace. And the hard tires, which are the slowest but with the longest life, can go a maximum of 38 laps, and you can really carry those right up to the max, about 35 laps before they really start feeling bad. So can be a one-stop, soft to medium or soft to hard. Soft to medium, though, you've got to stretch either the soft or the medium a little further than you would maybe want. So drivers will have to look after their tires if they want to do the soft to medium strategy, but the hard tires will be there if they need them.
Looks like we have a mix of starting compound. So we have Stephen and Appleplex on the soft tyres, and Dastardly having set his qualifying time on their mediums, which was really rapid for that qualifying session. Then we have 4 more cars on the soft tyres who all set their times on the soft tyres, meaning they have to start on those. And then a Letdown Estate and Ted, who did not set a qualifying time, they chose to start on the medium tyres. Bannister on the softs, and just Mikey, who was outside of the top 10, meaning he has free choice starting on the mediums.
So the drivers coming back onto the pit straight and locking into their grid positions. It's a short run down into La Source at turn 1, and then after turn 1 it's a long stretch of full throttle through Eau Rouge and Raidillon and down the Camel Straight, where we'll likely see a lot of action. And 5 lights are on. Boogity boogity boogity. We are underway at Spa. Stevo gets away well, and he's got the inside line through turn 1. Appleplex trying to challenge around the outside. And contact further back.
Bannister is off. I don't know if he was in control of his car by the time that incident happened. But most cars making it past Eau Rouge, but actually Old Dad's has spun. Thankfully he kept it out of the wall. It didn't collide with any of the other cars. Stevo's still in the lead.
A hectic start here at Spa as the 2 Renaults to tangle as they come into Le Calme. Mikey trying to make up places.
was a very busy start. And then we got a Red Bull on the inside of Prix. He looked like he was struggling through turn 5 there. Down to Pouhon, where we've got first, second and third all kept their positions. Prix is under a threat from Sega to Cos. Sega to Cos was having a look on the inside there, but he wasn't far enough to make the move. Letdown Estate is also under threat from a Williams driver, Ted.
Ted right on his gearbox coming out of Stavelot, and Ted without any overtake available, already the flat.
Used all of his battery on that first stint.
So Letdown Estate able to stay ahead as they come to the end of lap 1.
Sega looking really strong as he's looking at the back of the Red Bull of Prix. Flying through our Rouge. And Ted was having a look at the Letdown Estate there, struggling because my screen's going a bit crazy as it always does on lap 2.
Ted with a little lock up.
We have a tight battle back here from a Letdown Estate.
Ted using overtake out of Pouhon and nearly having a go on the outside there. As we go down to Bannister, and he's been off again. He's got a damaged wing, and Bannister been in great form recently, but a disastrous start here.
I think that's likely down to the oh, and just Mikey was having a look, got past CHM, his teammate. Mikey now up to 8th place, but yes, coming back to Bannister, I think starting the race from that disconnect, when he's reconnected to his car, he'd already been involved in an incident, so he had to do that early pit. But just Mikey looking strong, he's now trying to chase down the gearbox of the Williams of Ted.
And
not
DRS,
far behind.
DRS will be enabled this lap.
DRS here down Camel Straight, that will give the drivers an extra 8.5 kilometers per hour pace.
Ted looked a great getaway out of Radion, and he looks to have the move done on a Letdown Estate as they come into Lacombe. Down the inside, and Ted has got the position.
Just Mikey looked like he had to hit the brakes hard there to not go into the back of the Ferrari of a Letdown Estate. Ted locking up also, keeping his track position. Bannister back in the pits again. He's not having a great start to this race. Oh, and with a 5-second penalty also. That's not what he wants. Bannister is in need of a safety car as we see Prix has now picked up a 3-second penalty. We have a tight battle for 4th place here. We have Prix chased by Sega, chased by Ted. And not far behind, we have a Letdown Estate and just Mikey.
So you will have DRS down the main straight. Will he go for a move into La Sauce? Switches to the inside.
Ooh,
and he goes through, but he goes deep and off the track. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact as the other Williams driver, Ted, is able to get through both of them.
And now a letdown estate is side by side with Sega, but Sega backs out. He didn't feel like doing what Alonso and Webber did, going side by side through Eau Rouge.
And now Mikey.
Sega is not having a good time in this race, and Mikey now takes his position.
Well, not a good lap for Sega to cause at all.
And Ted, being the greatest gainer from this start of the race, having moved up 5 positions. Mikey not far behind, but moving up 4 positions. Old Dads and Bannister, obviously, with these connection issues, have put them at the back of the race. Bannister almost being lapped soon, but which is not what we want to see. Anything could happen this race.
Yeah, Mikey already making up several positions as well. Now he's on the back of a letdown of state as they come into the bus stop chicane. Prev still right there in front of a letdown of state. Both a letdown of state and Mikey will have DRS.
Prev's not having a good time at the start of this race. I'm wondering if the soft tyres are not working for his setup. Because he's losing out positions to these medium tyre drivers.
And we'll see if Mikey goes for a move here. The letdown of state does have DRS to defend. But Mikey also with DRS and a lot of overtake as he backs out as they come into Le Combe.
Did not have the straight line speed to get the move done. And downhill now to turn 8.
Oh, and Mikey having a check up there through Puhan. Nearly came into the back of a letdown of state. It can be very difficult to follow through this middle sector as dirty air is a big nuisance to the car following. Gotta be extra careful.
The big feature on this game, isn't it?
Yeah.
This game, this it's introduced dirty air where it will affect your driving, it will affect your downforce.
But through parts of the track such as this, being so close behind another car will help your speed. So it's helping Mikey as he's closing a little bit as they come into the bus stop chicane, but still too far back to have a go at the Ferrari.
The Ferrari now has dropped out of DRS zone of the Red Bull in front. Appleplex now picks up a 3-second penalty. Just Mikey already gaining from the slipstream of the Ferrari. Nice control through Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Down the Camel straight and DRS overtake. And without the Ferrari having DRS, it is easy to make this move past for the braking zone. And job done before Le Combe.
It's been a really good start for Mikey. Starting at the back on the medium tire, able to make up several positions here. So I'll be happy with how he started.
Here we are halfway through lap 6. Steve-O is still our race leader. Appleplex is hot on his tail though, not quite in DRS zone, but he is not far behind by 1.3 seconds. Dastardly 5 seconds down the road on the medium tyres, so he's expected to have a little bit of pace difference between the tyre compounds. Ted behind him also on the mediums. Brev in 5th place, being chased down now by just Mikey on the harder compound. Them softs are not working very well for the Red Bull car of Brev. But having said that, Mikey, having overtaken over a letdown estate, not only 2 sectors ago, he's 1.4 seconds clear.
Yeah, Mikey's showing really strong pace here. And those soft tires maybe not working for Prev as he would have wanted. They would already be showing some signs of wear. Not long tire life on the softs.
Just Mikey doing a great job of battery management as well. He's already back up to 80%, having used most of it to overtake a letdown estate.
He will get DRS down the Camel Straight as he's within 4/10 as they come through ready on.
The overtake was on early. I think he's too far back. Unless he's got Ricardo's brake pedal in that car, I don't think he's got enough distance to make the move.
Oh, and Prev going a little bit deep at Le Col. Mikey still not having a move.
No, but he's there. He's ready.
Yeah, he's just being patient, playing it smart. Not taking any risks this early in the Grand Prix.
No, you don't want to climb 5 places and then lose your wing. And Appleplex has just got within a second of Steve-O. Appleplex, if he can maintain that gap, he will have DRS.
Mikey's struggling a little bit with some dirty air through Sector 2, but he's still within a second of that Red Bull in 5th.
Even with dirty air, I think he should still be flat out for a Blanchimont. As we can see, the throttle and the brake on the bottom right of the screen, yeah, it's flat out through there, it doesn't lift at all. Appleplex having just dropped out of DRS zone, so he won't have DRS on this occasion.
Prev going pretty defensive into the bus stop chicane, getting off the ideal line to cover off the inside. And now this might be the lap where Mikey fancies a move down the Camel Straight. He's got plenty of overtake to work with. He'll get DRS.
He seems to have a good exit from the source.
Yeah, and he's right on the back of him. And he looks to be ahead. And he's got the move done through Le Calm. So Mikey making up another place here on his opening stint. What a start from our championship leader.
Yes, showing us why he is currently the leader of the Drivers' Championship. Appleplex still chasing down that AlphaTauri of Steve-O. So how long are we looking for these soft tyres to last?
On this first stint, probably around 12 laps.
Because it'll be interesting to see how the strategy differences will work. I know just Mikey started from the back and has had to work his way through traffic, but he's on the medium tyres, meaning he will be pitting a lot later than Steve-O will be. Steve-O, if we're looking at a lap 12 pit, he's got another 5 so laps on them tyres as Old Dad's now picks up a penalty. Dastardly still doing a great job. He's the leader of the medium tyre cars, as just Mikey says the fastest lap with a 148.6.
Yeah, Mikey getting a little bit of DRS help from Prev on that lap. But even with that, still great pace from him.
On the harder compound too. Although the soft tyres will be pretty worn down now, so they won't be setting any fastest laps anytime soon. Lock up from Appleplex as he was just inside the DRS window of Steve-O, but is that Bannister? Bannister running in last. He went too deep and caught the wall, and he's lost his end plate, and he goes very wide at Buon to get out of the way of our race leader, Steve-O, Appleplex. And he rejoins between Appleplex and Dastardly. and very unfairly gets the 10-second time penalty there as Ted picks up his first 3-second penalty.
And Appleplex closing the gap to within a second once again.
Bannister trying to do a great job of staying out of the way, but the game's just giving him penalty after penalty, which is not very fair. But he does a great job and he doesn't cause any further incidents now.
And I think just judging by the delta that is sort of fluctuating between Steve-O and Appleplex, Appleplex seems to be stronger in the middle sector. But after Sector 2 through Sector 3, which is mostly flat out, Steve-O seems to pull a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, it looks like he's got less downforce because he's already made up 4 attempts on Sector 1, which is quite flat. Quite straight, should I say. The Bannister's having a horrid race, this race. Sega is catching the back of CHM, but they're both on the soft tyres, which we estimate to have about another 3 laps worth of wear on. We can see some graining on his tyres. The front left, you can see it there. The ride on board. Can't see too much on the rear tyres at the moment.
CHM getting a little bit too much of that inside curb at the first part of Poulon, and Sega right on the back of him now.
Sorry, people watching my stream would have not seen that because I was just in Sega's car looking backwards. That's just Mikey's also now in DRS range of Ted. Sega dropping back a little bit from CHM. He's now outside of the DRS range, but he was within a second
and
before the
pitting
activation zone.
So Sega maybe trying to do a little bit of an undercut, getting off the softs early. So they'll be starting to wear right about now. Not feeling great. So Sega pulling the trigger and going on to the mediums.
So now, live during the race, we can see the penalties. So on my screen, you can see anywhere where there's a black and white flag, you can see a number next to it to see how many penalties, seconds anybody's got. So just Mikey and Ted are actually the biggest gainers from this, but they're now going to be entering into a battle between themselves, as actually Ted has caught the back of Dastardly. So if just Mikey does get in DRS range of Ted, he will also have DRS to defend.
Yeah, and Ted's tires might be feeling a little bit better than Dastardly's, as Dastardly using worn tires that he set his qualifying lap on, so maybe just a little bit more wear than Ted, who didn't set a qualifying lap.
Yeah. Ted's really gaining on Dastardly here, which is helping him grow the gap between him and Mikey. I think he was being assisted by a bit of slipstream from the Ferrari car.
Yeah, now he'll get DRS down the Camel Straight. He's not got much overtake to work with, so probably too far back to have a move into the call.
Now I'm wondering as well, because that Ferrari of Dastardly is moving pretty rapid down there, so I'm suspecting that Dastardly is running less downforce, meaning Ted might really gain on him now through sector 2 and 3, which is the more technical sectors, requiring more downforce as he locks up, and Bannister setting a fastest time on some fresh soft tyres. Ooh, Dastardly went really deep there, it looked like on my screen.
And as you say, Ted may be running more downforce as he's gained through this second sector.
Right on the back of Dastardly now. This is where he will need to be close to the back of him. He will need slipstream, overtake and DRS to counteract that straight line speed of the Ferrari, which is weird to say. Ferrari with straight line speed.
Oh, and he might have a go in the bus stop chicane. Dastardly getting very defensive and running a little bit deep. And that might compromise his exit as they come onto the pit straight. Ted with DRS now. Switches to the outside. Dastardly going very defensive once again. Cutting off the inside, but will that compromise his exit as they go down the hill towards Eau Rouge?
Well, this battling has allowed just Mikey to get within DRS range as we go through the activation zone.
So both Ted and Mikey will have DRS. Dastardly will not. So what can Dastardly do to defend this position?
That straight line speed of the Ferrari. Ted needs more overtake to get that job done. If anything, that just allowed him to get that gap from Mikey a bit bigger. But Mikey now is close to Ted as Dastardly runs a bit deep in turn 8.
Dastardly definitely struggling in the more technical parts of the track compared to the two drivers behind.
Ted and Mikey touched the inside curb there, but very, very good reactions to not lose it. As the inside curb of Pouon really does not forgive you at all. If you ride it, it takes you with it. Ted is gaining on Dastardly, but he's using his overtake to try and close that gap, but he's going to have no overtake to get the job done down the Camel Straight.
Dastardly going defensive once again through the chicane.
Worst thing he can do now is try and overtake him here, because then Dastardly will have DRS.
Dastardly going so defensive into these corners, really cutting off the inside line and making Ted try and go the long way around, and he's just not able to do it. And now not much overtake for Ted to work with, and we'll see if maybe he can close the gap and get the job done this time. But it doesn't look like it.
Too much straight line speed. All he's doing is allowing Mikey to get closer. But whilst Ted has the DRS, I think Ted may be able to stay ahead. Mikey needs to get right on the gearbox of Ted so that he can overtake the pair of them on the next Camel Straight. All this time, the battling going on. Steve-O and Appleplex now on 13-lap-old softs. Appleplex able to maintain that 1 second gap.
I reckon as Ted continues to close the gap through Sector 2, Appleplex might go for a little undercut here, because he's been around that 1.5 second gap for a long time to Steve-O. If he... Oh, and Ted gets a little loose coming out of Stavelo.
It does, and just Mikey just sees the opportunity, switches his overtake on and makes the move. Ted has no battery. He's nothing now to attack or defend. Now, can just Mikey get the job done on Dastardly? just Mikey with much more overtake than Ted did. Mikey will have DRS, overtake and slipstream. As we come round the source, great exit from both drivers there. Just Mikey's already gaining as he was flicking his overtake on to just make sure he's close enough to the back of him for when he opens his DRS.
He's quick on the overtake.
He is gaining. And he moves to the inside. It looks like he's going to be getting the job done before Lacombe, but Dastardly is sticking it round the outside. He's not giving it up easy, but Mikey takes the place.
Yeah, well done from Mikey. And there you see the value of saving your overtake up, as we saw Ted struggle to get past the Ferrari. He didn't have much overtake to work with on the Kemmel Straight, but Mikey, with a lot of battery to work with, was able to get the job done. And now Mikey all the way up into third, continues his great race.
Mikey now in a podium position from last, from a qualifying van. Also, Steve-O, Mikey and Dastardly up in the top positions with no penalties so far. Also, a letdown Estate and CHM with no penalties. So Ferrari and Mikey and Renault really good on controlling the track limits.
And Mikey's in.
That was really surprising to see. Mikey's in to pit on his mediums sooner than... Oh, Steve-O and Appleplex have also pitted. So Mikey's pitting the same time as they are on their soft tyres. And Mikey is on to a set of softs.
Am I seeing this right? Mikey's pit 15 laps in, after he had gotten himself into third, had clear track ahead of him.
Yeah.
That's a very confusing decision from the outside looking in.
Yeah. Because Steve-O and Appleplex was able to take a set of softs, albeit they was in pretty clean air. Was able to take the softs that far. Just as far as Mikey's took a set of mediums. Now, unless they know something we don't. The weather was clear.
Well, now that Mikey, Steve-O, and Appleplex have all pit, Dastardly has taken the race lead, and Ted's still challenging behind.
He still doesn't have a lot of overtake, but he is very close to the back of that Ferrari.
Oh, and now he might be going to try it on the outside of the bus stop chicane.
Oh, he's got his overtake on already. He was using his overtake going into the chicane, and he's looking round the outside now.
Oh, and can he make it stick? That's a great move from Ted. As they go side by side down towards Eau Rouge, Dastardly gets ahead.
Oh, and Ted had to brake there to control a spin.
Great stuff from these two. Dastardly able to retain the race lead, though.
That was a very brave move from Ted. I was worried he was going to be ahead during the DRS detection zones. So that would have meant Dastardly would have had DRS down the Kemmel Straight, which would have undone all that hard work he did.
So after several laps of trying, Ted's still not able to get past that Ferrari. So we ride on board with him. Through this second sector is where he's been gaining a lot of time, but just not able to get the move done. See, now he's gotten right back on the back of that Ferrari as they come into the third sector now.
Ted already using his overtake, trying to make sure he stays in DRS range. But you could see his delta, it was over a second down from his previous lap. Meaning that damage done from trying to catch that spin around Rouge and Radion. 2.4 second difference now from his personal best.
Ted with DRS once again, but not much overtake as he's using all he can. But will it be enough to get alongside the Ferrari into the braking zone? No, it will not.
It would have been a brave move if he stuck it up the inside, but I couldn't help but notice Dastardly was not using his overtake this time. So I'm wondering if that was what was helping Ted gain on him down the Camel Straight as Dastardly goes really deep.
Going very wide.
Ooh, Ted using a lot of the inside curve there. Again, that was very brave because all it takes is too much on the throttle or too much on the steering and your car's gone. As Giovinazzi found that out.
Oh, and there's a yellow flag. Looks like it's at the top of Radion. Old Dads is out of the race.
That will bring Bannister up into the point scoring position, even having been a lap down from that start that he had to this race. Now who can get a good restart from this virtual safety car? Oh, and it's already
Sega getting a drive-through penalty for Sega to cause.
Speed in under the safety car. They're very strict on yellow flags under safety cars. I think Mikey lost out a little bit of time through that VSC there. I'm sure he was within 2 seconds of a letdown of state, but now he's just outside of that 2-second gap.
Sega pulls into the pits to serve his drive-through penalty. Really unlucky for him.
That is really unfortunate because it puts him well out of the action, unfortunately. And as you see, pit crew aren't allowed to do anything to the car, it's just a straight drive through and out. Just Mikey back down to 1.3 seconds, 1.2 on the back of the Ferrari of a letdown of state.
And Appleplex staying right on the back of Steve-O this lap. He's been able to chop that gap down to under a second. Appleplex showing great pace to stay with our pole sitter here.
Mikey incredibly close to the back of the letdown estate. A big difference in the tyres. First of all the compound and second of all the life. Ooh, and just Mikey just having to back off there a little bit as he got dangerously close to the back of the Ferrari. Ted within DRS range of Dastardly, but he's quite far back. Mikey and the letdown estate, both with a lot of overtake. Mikey's overtake is already on. Slipstream overtake and DRS. He is thundering past the right hand side of a letdown estate. A letdown estate is hanging in there though. He's stuck at it round the outside, now the inside. We're coming now down to turn 7, and Mikey has to back out. A letdown estate keeps the position.
It's phenomenal driving from a letdown estate. On older tires, slower tires, and still able to defend that position. Great stuff from a letdown estate.
But the Ferrari driver just said, no, you're not having that position. Ted picks up a 3-second penalty. Just Mikey needs to get clear of a letdown estate this next lap. Otherwise that's going to impede his fresh tyres. And he's looking to have a move already into the chicane. He moved to the outside, but he backed out. And down the start-finish straight with DRS, he's already passed the front wing of a letdown estate. He's taking it around the outside of La Source. Now who's ahead? Mikey is now ahead, so a letdown estate will have DRS this time, but both cars have a lot of overtake to use to defend or attack.
A letdown estate can bring the fight back to Mikey if he wants. And he's looking to have a go around the outside as they come into Lacombe. And he's got the position back.
These two are putting on a phenomenal show as just Mikey unfortunately gets a 3-second penalty from cutting the corner at turn 7. I think a letdown estate can see how much Mikey needs to get past him, so he's just doing everything that he possibly can to prevent that from happening. And we have a car off of Sega Tako's own Radeon.
Yeah, damage to his front left wing there.
We've got 3 separate battles going on. We've got Dastardly and Ted. Ted is dangerously close to the back of Dastardly now. We've got Steve-O and Appleplex having their own little battle, and then a letdown estate and Mikey, who's already putting on a fantastic show for our viewers. It's difficult to...
Oh, and Ted right on the back of the Ferrari as they come into La Source. Ted round the outside at turn 1. And he's through, but as we saw with the other Ferrari, DRS down the Camel Straight can be used to take the position right back, as Dastardly will look to do the same thing as his teammate. He's got DRS and he takes the position back.
Dastardly was gaining before he even got to the DRS straight, but just Mikey made it past a letdown estate.
Can a letdown estate bring the fight back once again? He's got to overtake. He's gaining so quickly, the Ferrari. Down the inside at the cone.
This time he's on the inside. Can he keep the corner? And they're side by side through turn 5, 6, 7. Now down to turn 8. Downhill braking. Can they brake in time and not collide? A lot of racing respect between these two drivers as they leave each other a lot of space there.
And a letdown estate able to get back through in the end.
Unbelievable driving. This is some fantastic show of racecraft. Just Mikey's having a look going for it here.
Oh, not able to make it stick around the outside there.
I don't think this is what Mikey thought he'd be doing on these fresh soft tyres.
Now Mikey with overtake on. He's not wasting any time. So they come into Sector 3 and through Blanchimont, he's got the move done.
Now we know the straight line speed of the Ferrari is quite incredible, so can he keep this position through turn 1, 2, 3, 4? He's using his overtake to just to make sure he stays ahead, but a letdown estate has got a full battery in his remit, which he can use to attack the position of just Mikey.
Yeah, but Mikey already pulling over a 1 second gap on those fresh tires. He really got to use all of that grip through the bus stop chicane, and a letdown estate really way back as they come onto the camel straight. 2 second gap already.
Without DRS, the straight line speed of that Ferrari won't be enough to close that gap.
So you see
Well
Appleplex. Appleplex still right on the back of Steve-O.
Oh, and a letdown estates now has picked up his first penalty. So we are over halfway through the race, and in fact, looking at the penalties, it doesn't look like there's going to be many dangerous position drops, as most drivers who have penalties mostly only have one penalty of 3 seconds currently. Ted has 6 seconds, which will drop him a few places as it stands at the moment. And speaking of Ted, if we go on board with him now, because he has DRS on the Ferrari once again. Dastardly having led quite a few laps now here around Spa. But the fresher medium tyres of Steve-O and Appleplex, they are closing that gap between these front runners. He's just way too far back, Ted. Still suffering with his energy harvesting. He doesn't seem to have much battery throughout this race at all.
Yeah, he's got to use all he can down the straights to stick with the Ferrari, but not enough to go for a move at an overtake. He seems to be using a lot in Sector 3 as well. So, and Ted getting loose through Puhan.
Very loose.
He's able to save it. So no damage, but Steve-O now right on the back of him.
So he's gone from looking at the attack on the Ferrari car, but now he's looking to defend from the AlphaTauri behind him. And I think the pace of Steve-O and the difference in the tyre wear, I think Steve-O won't have too much issue getting past Ted, as Steve-O's already got his overtake on to close that gap down before the start-finish straight.
Was he going to have him move into the chicane? Ted locking up, leaves the space on the inside, but Steve-O backed out a little bit and just remains patient, as now Appleplex starting to close in on this battle.
Appleplex was missing out on DRS there on that start-finish straight, but if he can stick with Steve-O, he can get DRS down that camel straight. Appleplex with not much battery saved up. Steve-O's turned his on to close that gap now to Ted. Opens his DRS, which gives him an extra 8.5 kilometers per hour pace as he flies past the Williams of Ted.
Yeah, Ted not with much overtake to work with, so not much he could do to defend that move. As
Steve-O
having
through. Set a purple sector 1, obviously with the assistance of the DRS there, and is now looking to chase down the Ferrari of Dastardly, who's on much older tyres, 16 laps older. Just Mikey should have been in this fight. He made his way past Dastardly, but he pitted, so his strategy, I'm wondering how that will work out for him, because he's now on 8-lap-old softs, and he's about 9 seconds behind the action here, as we've got first, second, third and fourth all within 1 second of each other. Not a lot of overtake between them all though. Ted certainly not. Appleplex doesn't have much. Steve-O used a lot that last round. And I think Dastardly actually has the most, but he's going to have to defend now from the DRS of Steve-O, as none of them seem to take that last chicane exit very well. Ooh, it's very tight round the source there. Although the car's almost coming together. And we know the Ferrari of Dastardly has got a phenomenal straight line speed, but Steve-O's got his overtake on already. His DRS is now open. Slipstream, he's not closing that gap very quickly. He's having a look around the outside, but it's going to have to do him on the brake, and then it's very tight in there.
And he makes contact.
And Dastardly, if he wasn't going to pit soon, he's going to have to now, because he's lost the right end plate of his Ferrari, as just Mikey is going to be now coming up to him. That is very unfortunate. That's not the kind of racing that we wanted to see.
Dastardly with a lot of damage to that front wing. As now Mikey goes through.
I didn't quite follow what happened afterwards, because Steve-O seemed to drop right back.
Yeah, Steve-O slowed down and let Ted and Appleplex through.
Dastardly's bringing the fight to Mikey. Although he's got wing damage, I think he kind of tried to stay out of the way, but he hung in there.
And now...
So now we have Ted leading this race with Appleplex just behind. Steve-O dropped right back. I don't know if he was wanting to let Dastardly back through.
Oh, and a lockup from
really
Ted.
Sure.
Ted dealing with a much older tires than Appleplex and Steve-O behind. So Appleplex with a big advantage in grip, and he'll also have the advantage of DRS now as he's within a second. Just closing that gap as they come through Rouge. Oh, and Ted going off the track at Radeon. Getting a 3-second penalty, and he's got more problems to deal with now as Appleplex is passed as they come into the braking zone for Lecombe.
Neither of these cars have got much battery left, and Ted's fuel light just came on. So he's at braking point for his fuel settings. CHM now pitting with his 12-lap-old softs. Dastardly coming back out on a set of softs and a fresh wing. Not the kind of race that he was hoping to have, having led so many laps there.
And just looking at the penalty situation, Appleplex are race leader only with 3 seconds. So he is in really good shape. Steve-O with none. But Appleplex with clear air in front and tires that he might be able to take the rest of the way.
Ooh. I thought Ted was very loose riding on the sausage curb on the inside of the chicane there, but he was looking for the pit entry, which moves Steve-O back up into second place, as he now will be chasing down Appleplex, as these two have been quite on par with each other through most of the race. Just Mikey now up into third on his soft tyres, but his soft tyres are 11 laps old, so is he going to be looking to change them soon? His tyres look to be in okay shape from what I can tell at the moment. It's a shame we can't call up the graphic like the Tyre Life graphic provided by AWS. So here is where you really see some graining, but I can't see much on Mikey's tyres right now, so seems to be looking after these soft tyres pretty well.
Yeah, and just
I'm just
thinking about
curious. Go
thinking
on,
about his
sorry.
strategy. Probably going one more stop onto another set of softs. So
Yes.
he sacrificed that first stint, cutting it really short, and maybe thinking he can make up the ground of having an extra pit stop by being on fresh
On the
soft tires
faster
for the
tyre.
next two stints.
I mean, typically I try to finish on one of the softer compounds to try and get the pace at the end of the race to look for that extra point in the fastest lap. But the problem with Mikey's strategy there is he pitted so early on them mediums. He's going to have to stretch the life of the softs as he pits. Is he going medium, soft, medium? Because it's too early to go for another set of softs. And he is.
Mediums.
It's a strange
I might be
strategy,
having
but
a word with Mikey's strategist after this one. He had great pace and was surely going to be on the podium after the start that he had on that first stint, but a very unique strategy, we'll say, for Mikey.
Ted is on the back of a letdown of state. But again, these Ferraris, that straight line speed, no match for DRS. Ted on a fresh pair of softs, but he's locking up down into turn 8, which won't do them fresh tyres much good. But he's on fresh softs. It's going to be a struggle to take them to the end as he's pushing up the inside.
Next have a go through Puhan. Oh, that's a very dangerous place to go for a move, and he just has to back out there as he got all over that inside curb.
Very lucky to keep control of the car there. That curve, as I've said previously, is not very forgiving. Just Mikey now with ground to make up. He is within a second of the Red Bull of Prev. And he's got fresher tyres. The Sega picks up a 3-second penalty.
And I let down state into the pits.
Now what's a letdown estate going to go to be? He's made 28 laps on medium tyres.
Now at this point he could go onto the softs, and I think that's what he's going on to.
Yeah, 15 laps on the softs. It will be a stretch, but
yeah, the ideal window is, as we said in the intro, 12 to 15 laps on those soft tires. So he'll be able to do it. They might be falling away from him a little bit at the end, but probably the right choice at this point in the race.
Teammate setting some blistering times on his fresh set of soft tyres as Mikey has opened his DRS down the Camel Straight on Prev, but he's nowhere near close enough to have a look at a move this lap.
Yeah, Mikey just harvesting as much battery as he can, as we've seen him do in the past. He's very responsible in not wasting battery power. As Prev goes a little bit wide at Rivage.
Very wide.
Oh, and Mikey looking to have a move here. Could he go through on the inside of Puhan? Oh, Prev not giving it up. But Mikey looks to have the move done.
Prev trying to fire it round the outside there. That was a very aggressive move. Clean. I'm not saying that he was doing anything dirty there, but he just
clean but
fired
ballsy.
It. Yes. As he picks up a 3-second penalty. Mikey now back up into 4th place. Ted on some soft tyres. Again, he will be reaching the limit of the grip on those tyres as we come to the closing stages of this Grand Prix. So can Mikey close that gap? I think Mikey might be looking at a podium position this race. Because having said that, also we've got to consider the fact that Ted has 9 seconds worth of penalties, and also Appleplex has 6. So Mikey might be actually looking for a strong podium position here.
Well, maybe his strategy will work out, and, shouldn't have doubted him. Would be interesting to see where he would have been had he taken a more traditional one-stop strategy, but it looks like it might work out for him anyways.
Historically, Mikey has his strategist in him. Has had some rather interesting decisions when it comes to tyres. So, frankly, no massive shock there, but I'm hoping that this does work out for him because he does have the pace. And we've seen his show with a letdown estate. He's got the racecraft. And kudos to Bannister. Bannister's still in this race, having disconnected during quali, not being able to set a qualifying time, and then car being involved in an incident at the start of the race, which meant he lost his wing. I'm not 100% sure if he was actually in control of the car at the time. It's difficult when you disconnect and you have to rejoin because you can't take control of your car until after lights out. By which point your car has already started moving and you can't control where you're going to end up, as Mikey sets the fastest lap with a 1:46.6. And the fastest lap last season was a 1:46.8, which was set by Darkness. So we beat the quali times, we've beaten the race fastest lap times. So 13 laps left of this race. Appleplex currently leading, but has 6 seconds worth of penalties. Steve-O is behind in second place. He was 3.5 seconds down a few laps earlier, so he is gaining on Appleplex. And let's have a look at the tyres. They're both on the same tyre strategy. Then third place we have Ted, who's got 9 seconds worth of penalties. He is on 3-lap-old soft tyres. Just Mikey chasing down Ted on some medium tyres. He is slowly closing that gap. It was 10 seconds earlier. It's now 9.4, so he's gained 6/10. But Mikey is on the slower compound, about the same tyre wear, so his tyres should develop better than Ted's will.
Dastardly closing the gap to Prev. We'll see if he can maybe get DRS on the next lap. So he's got it down to 1.1 seconds on those fresh soft tires.
Yeah, Prev on some 15-old mediums, so he won't have as much tyre wear to defend. We know the straight line speed of this Ferrari that Dastardly is in is quite outstanding, so if he can get within DRS range before the Camel Straight, it should be an easy move. Dastardly using his overtake to try and get there before the detection zone, but he didn't quite make it this lap. I wonder if Prev was using his overtake there, because Dastardly didn't seem to make much ground up on that straight there. Unless Prev is another low downforce setup. Devo, Dastardly and CHM having been the only drivers so far to not be awarded a penalty. Dastardly now a lap on is still around about the same gap from Prix as he was at this point last lap. So with soft tyres 5 laps old, coming on to 6 laps old, are they starting to fall out of their prime window, be able to bring the fight to Prix? When he's just sneaking inside that DRS window.
Oh, and I think he's going to have DRS now. Yes, he will. Down the Kemmel straight. The Ferrari getting to show off its straight line speed as he closes the gap to the Red Bull in front.
Still not close enough to make a move this lap, but if he can do that the next couple of laps while saving some overtake, because Prix, he's got an empty tank of overtake there, so, and he's left it on. I wonder if he knows he's left his overtake on.
That won't do him any favors through this part of the track.
No. It'll make it harder to defend, and he goes very deep into Prix.
And dastardly closing further now through the second sector.
This is going to be an opportunity for the Ferrari driver to claim a position from the Red Bull team. And Bannister is off again. He's lost an end plate. I think by this point of the race, his head's not in it. But I think Bannister could have brought a much better race than what he's shown us today.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of him. He's been so consistent and had some great races recently, but just one of those days for him. Hopefully he'll be back where he belongs at the front of the pack next week. So we see Dastardly now right on the back of the Red Bull. He'll get DRS once again, this time a lot closer to the back of Prix though. And he has plenty of overtake if he wants to use it. At the moment though, he doesn't need it. He's getting past the Red Bull anyway.
Red Bull with 0 overtake to defend there.
Dastardly is through.
I think he could have made that move stick without DRS, to be honest with you. As we are 3/4 of the way through our race here at Spa. We have 10 laps left to go. Appleplex is leading, still in front of Steve-O. Steve-O closing the gap another 3 tenths, but he doesn't seem to be making up enough ground to claim that position before the end of this race. Having said that, penalties will mean that Steve-O will inherit that race lead after the checkered flag. Just Mikey also not closing that gap to Ted. And just Mikey 9 seconds behind. Ted has 9 seconds worth of penalties, but Mikey has 3 himself. So Mikey needs to be within 6 seconds of Ted to claim a podium here.
Yeah, quick maths there from Bloom. Help us understand our penalty situation. As it would be, not to go on about it too much, but you just wonder what if Mikey had gone on a one-stop strategy, where he might be at the moment.
Or if it had gone longer on the mediums and went soft.
That
They've
too.
still done a 2-stop, but on 2 stints on the faster tyre, rather than 2 stints on the not as faster tyre. But I don't know. It's one of them where if Mikey feels comfortable on these medium tyres, if he doesn't feel comfortable going through a rouge on worn tyres, then it's probably safer to have crossed the line 4th on tyres on a strategy that you know you're going to make, rather than to push speed every single lap, which I know doesn't sound very race car driver-esque, but rather than pushing it to try and be the fastest every single lap and go the greatest distance as quick as you can, because he could have pushed and came last, because he could have done a longer stint on the mediums, not being able to manage the tyre wear and lose it at Eau Rouge.
Yeah, and there's a lot of difficult corners there, especially on those soft tires as they start to wear down. After about 10 to 12 laps, they start feeling really uncomfortable around some of these corners, and we saw that in AL1. The driver who won't be named lost it on some worn down softs at the start of the race, but Mikey going with a safer strategy, not risking being on the track with any sort of worn tires. He's keeping it fresh. And he's had a mistake-free race, has to be said. He's done really well to get where he is in fourth, and he'll pick up some good championship points after starting at the back of the grid.
I mean, all this conversation we're having, he could still inherit a podium.
He could.
He's closed that gap a little bit now, so... I mean, let's also not forget that the soft tyres are to last 12 to 15 laps. Now, at the start of the race, it was only lasting 12 laps, but they were fully laden with fuel. So now, it could push them more to the 15-lap end of the range, but Mikey's mediums will be a lot better from the final stages of this race than Ted's tyres will be, as Bannister sets a new fastest lap with a 1:45.8.
Yeah, and a little further down from Mikey, we have Prev facing another challenger in a letdown of state.
Letdown of state on much fresher, faster tyres. And we also know that a letdown of state's Ferrari has got some quite incredible straight line speed. And having said that, the Ferrari of Dastily overtook Prev not too long ago, and he's already 5 seconds down the road.
Yeah, Prev trying to manage these mediums all the way to the end there, as both the Ferraris went for the medium soft strategy. So they're finishing the race on the quickest tire. Gonna let down a state, maybe just a bit too far back down the Camel Straight to have a move.
I think Prev must have some light downforce as well. He seems to have some straight line speed when it comes to battling with these Ferraris down that Camel Straight. Ted with another 3-second penalty. That's going to play into Mikey's hands. So as it stands now, Mikey will inherit third, as we have a yellow flag in Sector 3. But is that Bannister moving out of the way? It is. Bannister just being clear out of the way. And that was for Appleplex and Steve-O, our race leaders. So yes, going back to what I was saying, there will be some position changes come the end of this race. Steve-O is within the penalties of Appleplex. So Steve-O will finish this race 3 seconds clear of Appleplex after the checkered flag if it finishes as it stands. Just Mikey will inherit third place from Ted. Letdown Estate will also jump Prev if he doesn't make it past him through the penalty difference. I think it's absolutely great now that we can see the penalties, because
very handy.
You can see how the race is live.
On a Letdown Estate closing the gap, but still too far back through La Sauce, and
Sega is off.
to cause.
As he's coming to get lapped.
Does
Now
well to stay out of the way there.
Steve-O. I think he caught Steve-O by surprise there, but he was well out of the way enough for him not to cause any incidents there. Yes, back to a letdown of state. Chasing down the Red Bull of Prix. He seems to be doing a great job around Sector 2, closing that gap.
Prix using his overtake once again through this second sector. He's not got much left as they come onto the flat out Sector 3.
Oh, he's absolute zero. Absolute zero overtake left. But a letdown estate has 40%.
Yeah, and a letdown estate just saving it, you think probably his best opportunity to get past the Red Bull will be on the Camel Straight if you can have DRS.
Yeah, because one of those, you have DRS here, but it would be dangerous to overtake here because come around the corner, the other car will then have DRS.
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times today. Is if you overtake through turn 1, it's hard to keep that position as you go into Le Calm later in the lap.
And it was a letdown estate that kept bringing it back to Mikey, but this time he's on the back of Prev as we come down the Camel Straight. DRS open. I can't imagine Prev having much overtake to defend. No, he's got absolutely zero as we come to the braking zone and the letdown estate is in front. So, 5 laps left. Just Mikey has now closed that gap to Ted to 5 seconds. Can Mikey gain a second a lap and claim the position on track from Ted? Ted's tyres will probably not be feeling too healthy. Go another lap or two. Have a ride on board with Ted, see if we can see.
And the letdown estate going wide in Sector 2. Getting a 3-second time penalty.
Ted struggling on these tyres as he locks up coming into the chicane. Just riding on board with him, see if I can see what the graining is like on his tyres. But you have to wait until the sun is in the right angle. No, I can't quite see the graining on them tyres. Maybe there isn't any. See a little bit there, but let's move on to someone else. Steve-O now closing that gap. The Appleplex. Rev still hanging on to the back of a letdown estate, still within DRS range. Got a lovely aerial shot coming down through Sector 2 towards P1. And Charlie Fluff is asking how many seconds does Apple have in penalties? So let's have a look at our penalties. Appleplex now has 6 seconds of penalties. So Steve-O will definitely be inheriting that race win from Appleplex. Ted with 12 seconds. Anybody? Mikey just needs to be within 9 seconds, which he very clearly is. And in fact, Ted may be under threat from Dastardly. Oh no, and Ted picks up another penalty, so he definitely will be under threat from Dastardly, but then he might also fall behind the Ferrari of a letdown of state. Because at wheel to wheel, we have the rule where if you exceed 4 track limit penalties, for every penalty you pick up after that, you lose a position. So at the minute, Ted looks to have 5 track exceeding penalties, meaning he will be demoted 1 place in the final standings. So not only will he suffer 15 seconds worth of penalties at the end, he will also get a position drop. So Rev back onto the gearbox of a letdown of state, still within DRS range. Devo really closing that gap. Will, of course, inherit the position through penalties, but if any race car driver is on this track, I'm sure they're going to want to cross the line first rather than just win it on penalties. Ooh, and Appleplex picks up another penalty. Probably still safe on the podium, but now he's got 9 seconds. Let's have a look.
Mikey now within DRS range of Ted. As you say, he will inherit that position via penalties, but he'll want to get the move done on the track as well.
Brev looking strong to bring the fight to a letdown of state now. He's got DRS, he has no overtake though. And that straight line speed of the Ferrari, it's going to have to be some magic under braking as he moves to the outside, but a letdown of state is defending well. And a letdown of state keeps the position. Oh, and Steve-O's just picked up a penalty. That's not going to change things very much. But it's not what he's going to want to have done. Now, Dastardly and CHM are the only drivers to not pick up any penalties. And in fact, Steve-O is in DRS range of Appleplex. He didn't get it this time because he was outside at the detection zone. So as we go on to our final lap, Appleplex is leading. But there's a strong chance that Steve-O may have DRS coming down the Camel straight for the final time. No, he's outside the 1 second window as they go through the detection point.
Someone who will have DRS though is Mikey on Ted. The gap is less than 6/10. Mikey using his overtake to close the gap. And now he'll have DRS down the Camel straight.
Ted is struggling.
And Mikey is well ahead. Well before the braking zone of Lacan.
Brev also now having a look. He's going to have DRS as we come down the Camel straight. He's much closer to the back of the Ferrari this time. Still doesn't have very much overtake. He's having a look to the outside. He's ahead as we come into...
Slammed the door and gotten the move done. He threw it into that corner, not giving a letdown of state much of a chance to fight back.
Now they both have 6 seconds worth of penalties, so track position will be everything. If a letdown of state wants to cross the line before Prev, he needs that position.
Looking back to the front of the pack, Appleplex coming out of the bus stop chicane for the final time, and he crosses the line first, but with those penalties, Steve-O takes the race win once again. And in third place, we have our championship leader coming into today, Just Mikey, with a sensational drive from last on the grid. He takes the final step on the podium.
Ted crosses the line. He's got a lot of penalties and he's also got a position drop, so Dastardly will go in front. Now, Prev and a letdown estate, both with 6 seconds of penalty, so I think their positions will stay as they are, but Ted will drop below Prev, which is unfortunate because a letdown estate will miss out on that position gain. And CHM quite far back, but everybody else has crossed the line, so he's in no jeopardy of losing a position. We just wait for his Renault to come across the line. And what a fantastic Belgian Grand Prix we just had.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race, start to finish. A lot of battles, a lot of people making their way through the pack. Different strategies came into play. It really had everything.
Very interesting strategy from Mikey, but Mikey,
Mikey, driver of the day, well deserved.
very well deserved. Some fantastic racing between him and the letdown of State, wheel to wheel for about 4 or 5 laps, where you thought that Mikey would just take the position from him, but a letdown of State hanging it in there and battling. Great battle with him. We have Steve-O taking the race win in first place, Appleplex in second, Just Mikey in third, Dastardly in fourth, and we will have Prev in fifth, and Ted will be sixth after the position drop, making a letdown estate seventh, CHM eighth, Sega to Cos ninth, Bannister 10th, and Aldaz Rules DNF'd, but is 11th.
Yeah, and we're just gonna hold on for a minute as we might be able to get a couple drivers in for some interviews. Be interesting to hear from Mikey on that strategy call for sure.
Yes. Interview soon.
And so that race moves Steve-O into second in the championship. Mikey's still with a comfortable lead out in front, with a great result after his unfortunate qualifying ban after last week. Started at the back, but was able to cut his way through the field and get on the podium.
Yeah, Bannister suffering this race, lose his second place position in the driver's standings, but him sticking in there will earn him 1 championship point, which might mean all the difference come the end of the season. Steve-O with his 5th consecutive win, bringing his total of race wins up to 6. And I believe Bannister is the only other driver to have multiple race wins this season, with picking up 2 race wins. All the other race wins have been earned by different drivers. We have 8 different race winners this season, so it's been quite a spread field.
And we are now joined by our race winner once again. Steve-O, another race win for you. That one a little bit different from last week. How did that one feel?
Really hard, really difficult in the race. Qualifying was a bit hard, trying to get the good lap in.
I can't hear him.
The race was really tough. I was really pushed by it.
Are you there, Steve?
Pushed by now.
Yeah, he's talking.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so qualified on pole, but didn't cross the line first. Were you always comfortable knowing the penalty situation, or were you pushing a little bit at the end?
I mean, I still would have kept making a mistake myself. I mean, if I got the same amount of penalties as him, well, I was trying to keep it below 3 seconds just in case. In case I got 2, but...
Yeah, and we saw a little coming together between you and I believe it was Dastardly. From your point of view, what do you think happened there?
I thought I cleared him at the time, but not enough. I'll have to see what Dastardly's footage is like.
Yeah, well,
I missed what happened immediately after that because
I did slow down, and then I did slow down, and then that's the severe damage. So he's going to need to pit, and I carried on. All the way.
I think that's what put Appleplex in front of you, because before that you was in front of him, and then all of a sudden when I looked again, you was 3 seconds behind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so an unfortunate coming together there, but you're still able to get your head down and get the race win, so well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, pole and the race win. I think actually Bannister got the fastest lap, I can't recall. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Believe it was Sega to cause because he pitted just after Bannister there at the end.
Cool. Well, congratulations, Steve-O.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Steve-O.
Yeah.
And doesn't look like anybody else will be joining us, so we will see everybody next week at Monza, Temple of Speed. We look forward to that one. Everybody have a good week. Thank you.
Yep.